Liberal government has outlined its vision for a post-pandemic economy in the speech from the throne. Will the opposition support it? Raquel Dancho is the Conservative Party's public safety critic, and Jenny Kwan is the NDP's critic on housing and immigration. Ms. Dancho, I'll start with you. What is missing from today's speech that might have swayed your party to support it?
You know, Katie, I was quite shocked actually to see the Liberals' throne speech today. This is a Liberal government that's been in power for 6 years and just had a $600 million election, and yet you wouldn't be able to tell from their throne speech there was really barely any mention of the number one issue facing Canadian families, and that's the rising cost of living. Canadian families are worried about buying groceries, heating their homes, filling their tanks, and of course breaking into the housing market, and there was really very little acknowledgement of the impact inflation is having on Canadian families, and it was just very disappointing to see that on behalf of my constituents and many of the seniors on fixed incomes that are deeply concerned about their bottom line and those kitchen table issues that are not being taken seriously by this Liberal government.
Now, they did in the speech from the throne mention housing and trying to find ways to make housing more affordable and sort of expand the market so people can get in. Was that not satisfactory to you?
I think we've seen housing prices go up dramatically in the last 6 years under this Liberal government. In some areas of the country, housing prices have gone up over 100%. I saw nothing in that throne speech to convince me that the Liberals are going to be taking this seriously or doing anything to address it. And again, this impacts Canadian families deeply, and they were looking for reassurance that the Liberal government is taking inflation seriously, taking the rising cost of living seriously, taking the housing crisis seriously. And I was not convinced that any of those issues were being taken seriously in this throne speech by the Liberal government.
Ms. Dancho, are there any topics on which you see where Conservatives might be able to work with the Liberals going forward? Any subjects at all?
I think what we're really focused on as Conservatives in Ottawa fighting for our constituents is getting Canadians back to work. We're seeing about 800,000 people on unemployment insurance. We see help wanted signs everywhere. We have a massive skills gap in this country. And yet again, none of those issues were addressed in this throne speech. Conservatives are focused on getting every industry in every area of this country back to work, getting the economy firing on all cylinders, and getting Canadians back to work, bringing back those opportunities. And again, that was something that was not included or recognized as an issue in this throne speech. So in addition to that, the cost of living is going up. It's deeply impacting seniors on fixed incomes. It's deeply, in fact, impacting the kitchen table issues of every mom and dad in my community. And yet that issue is not being taken seriously by this Liberal government. So if they would have shown leadership, again, this was an urgent throne speech from the Prime Minister. He called a $600 million election for this throne speech, and there was really nothing new. It was just recycled promises from the past 6 years. So we have very little faith that the Liberals are taking seriously the major issues facing Canadian families. And so we'll have to discuss as a caucus what we're going to do. But what we really want to see is leadership on getting people back to work and getting inflation under control.
But were those not the promises that won the Prime Minister the election, Ms. Dancho?
Oh, I didn't see any of those priorities really focused on or really fleshed out very well in this throne speech at all. I'm not sure if Jenny or anyone else saw them. I agree with Jenny in terms of the issues impacting Canadians that are not represented in this throne speech. There are critical issues that we were hoping to see as Conservatives and opposition parties that were not reflected in this throne speech. Again, $600 million election for this throne speech, barely any new ideas, and they were not and are not taking inflation or the rising cost of living seriously, and it's very disappointing.
Ms. Kwan, Ms. Dancho, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.